Parliament, acting President of Union of Romanian Writers, President of the Union of Armenians in Romania.
You said ex-president? Acting president.
Acting President.
I thought that something happened in Romania
What I
during
say,
my absence.
what
A coup d'etat.
I say ex.
Not ex, acting.
Acting, I say.
It's a small difference.
Excuse me. Acting President of Union of Romanian Writers, President of the Union of Armenians in Romania, and above all, such a poet and powerful writer. And last but not least, a good friend of Israel and of the Jewish people. Varujan, I would like to ask you, how are you so successful in keeping the child in yourself so alive? How did your wise grandfathers become our grandfathers?
You know, asking about the child you are, you have to discuss about twins. There is a child you have been, and the child existing in yourself. The child you've been, and the child in you. Because you know bonsai, that small tree, the Chinese experienced the copy, the reality in their own house. The child is like a bonsai in your breast. I kept the child with me, but at the same time, I kept the child I have been, because you know, for us, for the Armenians, the memory is not a part of the past. The memory is part of the present. The memory is what the past let us. We live with our martyrs. This is the reason why I took the child with me, and in this novel, the Book of Whispers, the real storyteller is a child, not me. And the child explained on the very beginning of the book, they are not my rememberings. I'm only the echo of words or feelings existing before my birth. And I think that a writer has this obligation to keep the child with him, and the child is a treasury box of the sufferings and remembrance of his people. And I think that if you could keep the child with you, you're alive. This is the proof that you're still fresh, that you're still creative, that your life is not achieved on a bad way. My father said, an Armenian, a living Armenian is immortal. As you are alive, you're immortal. Because he couldn't imagine that his life would end. And all Armenians, they thought like that because they gave the heritage to the child, and the child grew up during all the life and delivered the tradition to another one. For example, I welcome Der Arshak Hazarian, he's the representative of the Armenian Patriarchate. Welcome, Der Arshak. Our Patriarch is the 97th Armenian Patriarch here in Jerusalem. You can imagine quite 100 patriarchs keeping the tradition. It's the same in my Armenian people. And you know, because I'm in Israel, and you said very well that I'm a friend of Israel. On 14th of May, I had a statement in Romania about the National Day of Israel. And I said, Armenians and Jews, they are like brothers because we are both people of book. We consider that sometimes if you have to choose between your own life and the manuscript, you choose the manuscript. And we have some proofs in the Manor, the Museum of Manuscript in Yerevan, books with spot of blood of the man who rescued the manuscript, and he died protecting the book. And this is a secret why Jewish people and Armenians, they exist, they survive despite their tragic destiny. And all of that is due to the child, the both sides existing in our midst.
And about your grandfathers?
My grandfathers. My grandfather, they were very interesting persons. One of them, Setrat Melikian, the father of my mother, he thought that you have to forgive, not to forget. He said, less the history behind. The other grandfather, Vosganian, the father of my father, he said, no, the most important is to forgive. In the book of Whispers, there are another character, Misaktor Lakian, member of the Nemesis group. Nemesis group was a group of young Armenians killing all the responsible for the genocide in 1915. Something like Simon Wiesenthal for Jewish people. Simon Wiesenthal was not a criminal. He kept the criminals and they put them to be judged. He didn't kill the criminal. The same with the Nemesis group. Nemesis group, they killed only those criminals judged and condemned to sentenced to death. Sentenced to death by a criminal court. And Setrak Melikian said, the most important is to forget. Isator Lakian said, the most important is to revenge. And my grandfather said, the most important is to forgive. I think that every life of a people having in his destiny a tragedy has to choose between oblivion, revenge, and forgiveness. Oblivion is indifference. If you forget, you don't understand. If you forget, things could happen again. The revenge is the worst solution. Somebody says, I have to flow the drop of blood of my enemy because he provoked the death and the spot of blood of my own. But there is not an arithmetic of blood. You can make an equation, a sign of equal between drop of blood. And the revenge only doesn't reduce, but multiplies the suffering. The most important is to forgive. But you know, forgiveness is the most responsible attitude. Because when you forgive, you have to know why you forgive. If you forget, there is no any explanation for that. But if you forgive, you have to explain why. And you know, if you forget on your own. On your own. But if you forgive somebody. Forgiveness is a dialogue. Oblivion is a monologue. Forgiveness is a dialogue. You need somebody to assume the facts. You can't forgive in abstract. You can't forgive in front of a wall. No, you have to forgive directly somebody, and he has to assume the facts. This is the reason why between, let's say, Jewish people and German people, there is a dialogue now, and you are here on the Konrad Adenauer conference room. Because Germans, they accept, they assume what happened. If you go in Berlin, wandering on the streets, you'll see on the earth some pieces of yellow stone. I don't know if you were in Berlin. That yellow stone means that in the house near to that stone lived a family of Jews killed during in the concentration camps. You can imagine some yellow stones in Constantinople, in Istanbul. This is the reason why the Armenians can't forgive, because they don't have a partner to assume the facts. So this triangle, oblivion, revenge, and forgiveness, is the triangle of the cross. The fourth arm is the Holy Spirit, is the soul, is the divinity. But on the earth, we have, this is the three Cartesian dimensions of the humankind destiny: oblivion, revenge, and forgiveness. You know, it's very difficult to do that. When I was in Berlin, I presented one of my books, The Game of 100 Leaves. A German told me, it's very difficult for you to escape from communism, he said to me. The Romanian people can't do that. And I said to him, don't try to judge us. Because you know, if you ask Jews across the world about the Holocaust, all of them, they have the same opinion. If you ask Armenians about the genocide, all the Armenians across the world, they have the same attitude. But if you ask two Romanians about communism, maybe you will have two different answers. And you know why? Because we didn't have judges. Who can judge? In Germany, I said to him, in Germany, the Elias came and judged you in Nuremberg. But if the Elias didn't occupy Germany, and the Germans were put to condemn each other, to separate the victims and the executioners, for you the denazification used to be more difficult than the decommunization for us. It's very difficult to find the people you have to forgive and the people who need your forgiveness. This is maybe to forgive the unforgivable and to have this responsibility to forgive, to cure the future from the wounds of the past and of the present is a very important thing. Yet I think literature has a very, very important role on that. Because you know, in the history, death is expressed by zeros. During the Holocaust, they killed 5 million Jews. 5,000,000. It's abstract. It doesn't provoke emotion. But if you go to Yad Vashem, there is a room there when a voice pronounced the names of the children killed during the Holocaust. In that very moment, and you heard the names of victims, you understand the largeness, the cruelty of the Holocaust. You know, this is the difference. In history, death is expressed by zeros. It's abstract. In literature, death doesn't have zeros. You give name to the suffering. This is the reason why a novel is powerful comparing with the history. This is the reason why, if you want to understand, we have to look to a library, not to textbooks. This is the reason why I wrote the Book of Whispers, The Book of Whispers is an identity book for Armenians. You can find there, starting with cuisine, I don't know, the daily habits of families, till the music, the heroes, the melancholies and hopes. But in the same time, I put in this book all the history expressed by names. For us, for Armenians, every cross has only a name. This is the reason why the common graves are so horrible, because they try to hide the facts. They try to hide the unicity of the human being, which is more than his own life. The unicity goes below, under, surpass his own life. So,
Just my next question was that you partially answered, if you wish to say something more, and I believe it's a lot of understanding to try to understand our situation now. The next question I put before knowing what you will say, how could the result of so many tragedies and hate become, in your book, an act of love to the human qualities inside us?
the Book of Whispers is a book about Armenians, yes, but it's not only about Armenians. It's a book about Germans, about Jews, about Romanians.
Okay.
You know why? Because when you describe a tragedy, the largeness of a tragedy, you practically describe at the same time all the tragedies of the world. Because all the tragedies, they have something in common. This is the reason why the Book of Whispers was translated in, I don't know, 20
More than
something
20 languages.
and was presented in 40 countries in all the continents. On 21st of April 2015, when we commemorate the centennial of the genocide, the Book of Whispers had public lectures in all the world, was chosen as book symbol of the fight against the crime of genocide. But I didn't discuss in any country about Armenians. In Spain, for example, we discussed about the Spanish Civil War. They asked me, what do you think as author of the Book of Whispers about the fact that in the same graves we found victims of the fascists and victims of the Republicans? What do you think about that? Because every family asked back the body of their ancestors. And I said, let the dead there. Because if the dead, they don't find the peace, it will be very difficult for you to succeed. In Colombia, President Santos expressed his gratitude for the Book of Whispers. He said that this book was for me a very good example of how people could choose between oblivion, forgiveness, and the revenge. And he took the book with him during the negotiations with FARC guerrillas. And he expressed his gratitude in a newspaper. My ambassador in Colombia showed me the statement of the president saying, because I was there in 2012, he said, I express my gratitude to the author of the Book of Whispers because the Book of Whispers helped me in the negotiation. In Israel is something more specific. Riri Manor is here because she was a brilliant lobbyist of the Book of Whispers here in Israel. And Israel was the first country translating the Book of Whispers. I'm very glad to have here two very good friends of mine, Herzl and Balfour Hakak. You can imagine how names Herzl and Balfour, Lord Balfour and Herzl. And Herzl
They proposed
Hakak,
for Prize Nobel.
Herzl Hakak was at the time president of the Association of Hebrew Writers Association, and he asked the Nobel Prize to take into consideration the Book of Whispers. And you, if you may, I want to have the permission to give the floor for a couple of minutes to Herzl Hakak to read the letter the Hebrew writers sent to Nobel Committee in Stockholm. because this letter, and maybe we'll discuss about the position of Israel about genocide. This letter shows that there exists a brotherhood between writers across the world concerning the role, the message of literature.
So for this is so
Could you-
important for
Answer,
you.
please, it's a short letter. Could you come here? Herzl Hakak asked twice, in 2012 and 2013, to the Nobel Committee to take into
Sit down.
consideration.
Sit down. Well, here you cannot sit only here, so. No, I must. No. Please sit down.
Can you hear? And
No,
let's stay here.
sit you here. No. I must do gymnastics. Sit here.
Please, please. It's a short letter.
Okay, so this is my warm recommendation for the candidature of an invaluable writer. I am writing to you in my capacity as chairman of the Hebrew Writers Association in Israel. Our recommendation, Varujan Vosganian, as the association candidate for receipt of the Nobel Prize for Literature for the year 2013. Vosganian wrote a book which seems as a holy book. We are amazed to feel the deep story of his people. The book tells us, in an artist's hand, the period Armenian Holocaust and how the Armenian people suffered by the Russian regime. The Book of Whispers reveals the spirit of the Armenian people. The book is written in a special language, creating in a special way of the values of his family, the beliefs of the Armenian people, their way of life. We feel the mysteries of the ancient language, the mysteries of the human culture. The time has come for the Nobel Prize Committee to recognize and honor the Armenian people and to award the Nobel Prize for Literature to one of their most eminent writers. Varujan Vosganian represents a rare breed of writers, humble of the world, who feel the code of the ancient life, values of the old world, the pulse and the heart of his fathers and his noble nation. He knows how to make dialogue between the past and the memories to the present, to our time. He reveals the mystery and sorrow of Armenian people, their inner truths. The Nobel Prize will be an honor to a great author and honor to a great nation identifying with their history, the Holocaust. Yours, Herzl Hakak, Chairman, Hebrew Writers Association. There is similarity between the two nations. The two nations are obliged to the ancient language and ancient heritage.
Thank you very
We're
much.
similar.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you.
So my next question already answered, but perhaps wish to add something. I asked why it was so important for you to have the translation in Hebrew, because both people have the Shoah of the last century. And what was your experience in presenting the book across the world? So you partially answered. If you wish to add to this, please.
First of all, I want to express my greetings for the representatives of the Romanian state. We have here representatives of the Romanian embassy. Thank you very much, you're here. And the representatives of the Cultural Institute of Romania, which has the role to promote Romanian literature across the world. And the Cultural Institute supported the translation of the book in Hebrew. The Honorary Consul of Armenia is not here. He's here now. Ah, yes? Murachem. Thank you very much. You know, I'm a very rich man. I was born in two languages, in two cultures, and I have two representatives across the world. The Romanian ambassador, who is representing my state, and me being a politician abroad, I play in the national team of Romania. And at the same time, the Armenian embassy, which is the embassy of my motherland. Thank you very much, So, it is, every language is important, because you know, the Book of Whispers is not a book only about for Armenians. Every nation, every place, every family has its own Book of Whispers. The Book of Whispers of the family he was born in, and the Book of Whispers of the community he belongs to. And if you look in the literature of all the countries, all the languages, you'll find books of whispers, maybe not under this title, but books representing the soul, the sufferings, the melancholy, the hopes, the absence and the presence of their symbols. And this is the reason that every language is important. It was very important, the translation in Armenian. It was the first novel in the history translated directly from Romanian to Armenian, because all the translations were made using the path of the Russian language. And we needed 7 different translators to translate it in Armenian, like Septuaginta. And I was the last one. I made the last shape of the translation in Armenian, but in Israel, it was very important because, you know, we have this brotherhood not only because we are people of the book, but because we have a common trouble. In the first war for us, in the second war for you, the Armenian people was halved. 3 million Armenians in Anatolia, 1.5 were killed, 1.5 were survivors spread in eastern countries like Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and so on, and other half in Europe, like my grandparents. The same for Jewish people. The Jewish people was halved on 12 or maybe 10, 12 million Jews living in Europe. Half of them were killed. And you know, maybe somebody can't understand why the Jewish people and the Armenian people, they need the recognition of the trauma. You know, imagine that in Anatolia, it used to live 3 million Armenians. Half of them were killed. Half of them were survivors. Now, the survivors are 6 million. And I put the question, how many Armenians were killed? 1.5? No, 6. Because their descendants are 6. We, on the earth, we are living alive. But maybe they have their own life under the earth, in the graves. The Jewish people and the Armenian people, they are like Persephone. You know the goddess of Greeks, Persephone. Persephone lived half a year on the earth and half a year on the kingdom of Hades. It's the same for us. Maybe under earth, when they live, they love each other. They make children. Maybe under the earth, there is a boy with the name Varujan. Born is the same day like me. Maybe I have a twin there. And for us, it's difficult to put all the two parts together. We need the solidarity of the world to do that. This is the reason why we ask for the recognition. This is the reason why you ask, in the same time, respect for your tragedy. And you know, they say that if you accept existing a massacre, it's enough. No, it's not enough. Between massacre and genocide, there is not a difference taking into account the quantity of blood. You can massacre 1 million people. The difference is that genocide means not only massacre of people, means destruction of a civilization. Because they didn't kill like only Armenians existing in Anatolia, but they destroyed a civilization existing from 3,000 years before. When the Turks went to Anatolia, they found the Armenians there. The motherland in Anatolia is of Armenians, not of Turks. And if you recognize a genocide, like Germans did, they paid compensation. They accepted the existence of Jews in their land. If the Turks recognize the genocide, it means, because you said Raphael Lemkin, when he defines the genocide, he said, genocide is imprescriptible, unforgivable. There is no prescription, like in massacre, because during a crime is prescripted in 25 years, but the genocide not. Because you have to, if you assume the genocide, you have to give to that civilization you destroyed the right to existing again on the same land. Of course, Armenians will not go back to Anatolia now. I don't have any intention to go to Erzurum, where my grandfather was born and where his family was practically completely killed, excepting he and his sister. But we have churches, we have monasteries, we have holy places, we have cemeteries. Maybe I want us to look for the graves of our family. We can make pilgrimages and so on. This is the reason why Turkey doesn't recognize Armenian genocide, because they have to open largely the doors of the Christianism. They have to open the door to the owners of that land. For Turks not to recognize the Armenian genocide is a problem of national security. But my own opinion is that Turkey could not become democratic without recognizing the Armenian genocide. And the doors of the European Union have to remain closed for Turkey till Turkey doesn't recognize the genocide, because the recognition of the genocide does not become an internal problem of the European Union. And now I want to see a few words about Israel and about the position of Israel about the Armenian genocide, which is a little bit strange. First of all, this is the reason why I invited my friends, the twins, Hakak, because this is an example of how they, like Moshe Idel and others, they are supportive and they accept the recognition. And there are other personalities. I have here a declaration in 21 of Reuven Rivlin. Reuven Rivlin is, in my opinion, is a great character of your political life. He said, "We will mark the annual Memorial Day for the massacre of the Armenian people, regardless of the relations with today Turkey, which is our ally." It was 21. And he said something very interesting. He said about Avshalom Feinberg. He said, Avshalom Feinberg said 25 years before the Holocaust that if we do not war against what is going on with the Armenians, what will happen afterwards when with they will be happen to us. And he was a premonition, and at the same time, I want to evoke the name of Jewish writers, like first of all Franz Werfel. Franz Werfel was maybe the most famous writer presenting the Armenian genocide. With anything happened, there is a heroic resistance of Armenians on the mountain of Musadag. Hans Morgenthau, ambassador of United States in Turkey at that time, Hans Morgenthau resigned for protesting against the decision of Talat Pasha to evacuate all the Armenian population and to the deserts of Mesopotamia. Elias Canedi, another important writer, please, Elias Canedi, and the others. So we have a famous list, prestigious list of intellectuals and writers supporting the genocide. And I wanted to mention another name, the name of your foreign minister, Mr. Israel Itzhak. Yeah, Mr. Itzhak said to Itzhak, yes? Israel Itzhak. Israel Katz said to Recep Erdogan in January, don't mention the word genocide about what happened here. You remember your genocide, and you have to solve this issue about Kurds and especially about Armenians. Israel Katz was one of the promoters of the motion in 2018 in Knesset for the recognition of the genocide. But my friends, we are not making politics now, because it's not politics, it's morality and justice. It's a very moment that Israel has to recognize the Armenian genocide, because Turkey, as Rivlin said here, is not anymore ally of Israel, and use the same weapons they use against Armenians 100 years ago. So now go back to the literature. The literature is very important because, you know, the literature doesn't put conclusions. If you read the Book of Whispers, in the Book of Whispers, I don't select the victims and the executioner. You are innocent. You are not. No. The novelist is only a witness. The conclusion belongs to the reader. If you put conclusions in your book, you make pamphlet. You make political statement. I put in front of the reader this dilemma about oblivion, forgiveness, revenge. He has to choose. He has to choose. Literature is a partner of dialogue. Literature has to provoke emotions, not conclusions. Because if you, on your own soul, the emotion manage to the truth, is the absolute truth in the world, based on emotion, based on heart. So
you answered that if you feel similarities with other Jewish writers, and I would like to add some things because we have time. You remembered me when you said about the unborn Armenian children in the future. When I was in Auschwitz, I saw a luggage, and I say, I know everything about Holocaust, about Jew. I am born, I was a small child when were finished, and all the time only movies and books about the Holocaust. So I said, okay, but I have nothing more to learn, but I must do it. I saw on the luggage George Weiss, the name of the child. He was born in 18 August 35, my birthday. In the same moment, he was dead so many years, and I did so many things in this time, and also children. And in the same moment, I emotionally understand the Holocaust that any years before I didn't understand. So, David Grossman mentioned how the majority of Holocaust victims never told the story to their children. They took the secret with them to the grave. How can you explain that the storytellers of the Armenian Holocaust were only women in the Book of Whispers. Why the men didn't?
It's very interesting that my grandfathers never told the story of their sufferings. I will give you an example. Setrak Merikian, the father of my mother, he lived a village close to Erzurum. He was somewhere in Erzurum to some relatives with his brother. The name of his brother was Harutyun. And when they came back, they saw the village in fire. And the Turkish officer stays in front of them, and with a sword he killed Harutyun in front of his brother. And he said to Setrak with the Benjamin brother, he said to him, you remain alive to tell what happened to your family. And this is the reason why Setrak Melikian never told the story. But who told the story? All his family was killed. His sister was killed in the desert. Another one killed herself for not be violated, and so on. But he didn't know anything about the sister Sateni. Was 7-8 years at that time. And he wrote, when he came to Romania, after a couple of years, he got some money, and he sent a letter to the orphanage in Damascus, in Aleppo, in Beirut. And an answer came from Beirut. They said, yes, we have such a girl here. And my grandfather paid for the girl and for somebody coming with the girl to Constanza, the harbor on the Black Sea. And my grandfather went to meet her sister. And they said, no. Stay here, take this paper, and write the name of your grandparents, your parents, your brothers, your late brothers, your late parents, and so on. And they went to the girl and said to the girl, do you remember the name of your grandparents, parents, and so on? Yes, said the girl. Tell us the names. They put together the two papers. The names were the same. And he said to my grandfather, yes, this is your sister. You can take it. If you put this in a movie, somebody will say it's exaggerations. Couldn't happen something like that. But it's reality. The reality is powerful than fiction. When the fiction tries to keep the reality running after reality, when the fiction could reach the reality, this is a great literature. And my grandfather never tell me that story, not the Karabet Vosganian. But you know why? The women, they are storytellers, because the women could say things in a more softly way. They could say it in a maternal way. You can accept it without cruelty. This is the reason why what I'm saying in the book of Riri are due to my grandmothers, not to my grandfathers. But you know, I don't try to be pathetic. When I was in Odessa to the festival in 2015, I participated to a festival of humor with the Book of Whispers. Because you know, Armenians and Jews, they were successful, faced the destiny with a sense of humor. I'm not pathetic. I'm very proud to be an Armenian, but I respect the proudness of all other people in the world. Something that, you know, in Romania, first of all, I say I'm an Armenian. After that, I say hello. When I was minister, I kept the flag of European Union of Romania behind me, and on the desk, a small flag of Armenia. And some ambassadors asked me, but nobody is offsetting Romania because you're a member of the cabinet and you keep the flag of Armenia on your desk. No, because if you want to be honest with yourself and with others, you have to present yourself as you are, without hidden anything. Your baptism, your family, your blood. If I say I'm an Armenian, you have to accept that I try to be authentic, to be sincere with you. And you Romanian Armenians are very loyal, because Romania was for us a very good house in the difficult moments of our history. Armenia accepted the emigrants in the 11th century pushed by Tatar and Turk invasion. Romania accepted as the first country in the world accepting the survivors of the genocide in 1915, and was the first country recognizing the independent Armenia after the referendum in September 91. In December 91, Romania was the first country establishing diplomatic relations with Armenia. This is the reason why in Romania you could be 100% Armenian and at the same time 100% Romanian without any contradiction between the two sides. Both of them are light side of the moon. There is no dark side in this attitude, in this position. And this is the reason why I'm a Romanian writer. And I have to confess that the Romanian tongue is brilliant for literature. And I think the Hebrew translation was very good at the same time.
The things were the same with the Jewish people in Romania that contribute so much to the civilization of Romanian language and also
we had brilliant writers with
Romanian in Romania.
Yes, with Hebrew origin.
Although what it happened.
It was a big loss for Romania and a very good fortune for Israel, the Romanian-born Jewish community, because a large part of the Jewish community emigrated to Israel. For Romania was a tragedy. We understand now what does it mean. 800,000 Jews in a country like Romania, it was a fortune. And their contribution to the Romanian civilization could not be estimated in figures. But this is a destiny of Romanians, of Armenians and Jews to look for their motherland, of their northern life. My grandfathers, they dreamed an independent Armenia. They dreamed to a motherland. Fortunately for me, I live that very moment that we have a mother tongue. Unfortunately, the tragedy is continuing with what's happened in Karabakh, with 100,000 Armenians delocated from their houses. But you know, I think that the book is eternal. They say people don't read anymore. People don't buy books anymore. Believe me, my friends, the book is a powerful thing humankind created on this earth. We can imagine empires, they disappeared. Armies, they disappeared. I don't know, cities, walls were destroyed. But the archers from Nineveh, the papyrus from Egypt, the manuscript from Dead Sea, the manuscript of the Middle Age, the books of Gutenberg, maybe the e-books from today, they are existing. They are the conscience of the humankind. And the history was not created by generals and emperors and kings, but by poets. By poets. And if the Bible is so powerful, the Bible is powerful not only because it's a source of faith, but because it's a source of poetry. The Bible creates the Old and New Testament. They create emotion because of the poetry dimension. For example, the Ecclesiastes, the Book of Job, which is maybe the first lyric poem in the history of humankind. You can imagine that suffering of Job was written when Homer had written Iliad and Odyssey. After that, I don't know, the letters of St. Paul in the New Testament and so on. The Bible is the first poem of the history of humankind. And I think the literature, they try to destroy the book. They try to kill the authors and to destroy the book. But if I make a list to you of the books forbidden in the history, you say that the book is immortal. For example, Divina Commedia of Dante Alighieri, the Canterbury Stories of Geoffrey Chaucer, the Cameron of Boccaccio, the House of Uncle Tom by Harriet Beecher Stowe, I don't know, Fahrenheit 451 of Ray Bradbury, Dr. Zhivago, Pasternak, and so on and so on. They destroyed the books, they burned the books, they forbidden the books. Archipelago Solzhenitsyn and so on. But they couldn't destroy them. We forgot the authorities. We don't know where used to be the Guelphs and Ghibellines during the time of Dante Alighieri. We don't know who condemned Dante Alighieri to death. But Divina Commedia remained. This is the reason why I think that the real story of every people you can find in books, in the pages of the books. And this is the reason why I'm convinced that the book is immortal. And the book in the mirror is a reflection of the soul, the reflection of the thoughts of man. You can imagine a mirror, you look to a mirror and you see your face. But imagine a mirror when you see your thoughts. You see your feelings. You're afraid of such a mirror. Don't afraid. Because the soul is more beautiful than the body. Forgive. I'm convinced of that.
You wrote in the book that the history is written not by generals,
No.
but by vanquished, by people that are not vanquished, but vanquished.
No, the history is not written by generals and emperors. Because the generals, they are powerful. They have the power with them. It's very easy to be a winner and you have power. But to be a winner, being weak, this is la grandeur de
This
l'humanité.
is in your book.
This is to accept you'll be defeated, but despite this conviction, to fight. Because someday will come when your sacrifice will influence the world. And maybe the history, it's in fact the history of sacrifices.
I need to,
I think we can stop here because...
yeah, I need
because-
only to say at the end again, to express some personal feeling, a feeling of shame that among the democratic states recognizing the Armenian synodies, we cannot unfortunately name Israel. The politicians decided against our will to ignore the truth in favor of a doubtful relationship with the Turkish state. Varujan, thank you very
really,
much.
I wrote a poem. I was invited today to the conservatory. It was an amazing experience. With the group we have here, Doron Kaufman. Where are Doron? Doron Kaufman invited me to the conservatory. It was my wife. My wife is there. She's a brilliant composer. And we made a jam session. I wrote some poems, and his students made an improvisation with me. It was brilliant, and I think you asked me about what's happened in Israel. And one of the poems was about Jerusalem. And I will repeat what I said there. Anything happened to you, you have to remember there is a proposition. Next year to Jerusalem. So, next year maybe in Jerusalem, you'll celebrate the recognition of the Armenian genocide by Knesset.
Kyiv is always a place, a teaching experience for the soul as well as for the mind. And we begin to wait for your next visit here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the organizers, to the International Writers Festival. It was for me a huge pleasure to meet a lot of friends. And I'm very proud that during my mandate as a member of the parliament, I was part of the Parliamentary European Group of Friends of Israel. Thank you very much.
I don't know why he wrote me.